What's good, y'all? Just wanted to check in right quick. I know today Eric Holder is supposed to be in court. He was supposed to be there at 8:30 in the morning Pacific time. So, you know what I'm saying? He should have been there already. Typically things in court, it don't really move that quick. I mean, depending on the court schedule, you feel me? Especially with the trial like this and the type of scrutiny it's gotten in for the public because of the very obvious answers, which or the obvious questions we need to raise, which I'm going to bring up in a second. But I say all that to say that right now, I don't know what's really going on with the California courts. Things could be moving a little different over there because I know, for instance, at least on the East Coast, it's a lot of cases that was pushed back, and the type of cases that were supposed to go to trial, they couldn't have in-person trials. So, you know what I'm saying? They either did, Zoom trials, or they pushed the trials back to happen in person. So with that being said, I think the more important inquiry right now is, the data points we need to go over and the questions we need to raise, is a lot of the flaws within the judicial system out in California. That's very evident. Now, I can't say, it's not fair for me to say it's California, as we're talking specifically about Los Angeles County, and there's numerous counties out there just like any other state. But in this life, you're guilty by association. And if a brother could be guilty by association for being at the wrong spot at the wrong time, then I don't think it's unfair to say that California is guilty by association for a county within it, participating in these antics. Now, as I was explaining plenty of times to some of my confidants that have been covering this matter and have been diligently, doing their homework and not letting up under any circumstances in order to obtain justice for our brother, one thing has been very evident. It seems that, in California, or at least in Los Angeles County, right? Los Angeles is where Hollywood is at. Now, you got a lot of gangbangers, you got gangs, you got all that going on, but there's Hollywood that's driving a lot of revenue into that particular county. Now, when you think about it, right, California, when you think about people from Cali, I'm not talking about gangbangers. I'm talking about more so along the lines of them folks, right? Yo, it's a lot of fake shit going on in Cali, man. I done been to Cali I wouldn't say several dozen, but I've been there over 10 times in my life. And the one thing I always remember is by the time the trip is over, I'm very happy to come back to where I'm from because, you know what I'm saying? Where I'm from, people just keep it a buck. Yeah, it's a lot of fake shit going on all over the world, all over the country, but particularly in California, for some reason, people are fake. And I think that has to do a lot with the Hollywood influence. I'm talking about people from more so of in the LA region, not so much in San Diego where people are genuinely nice, in my opinion. But when we talk about LA, you got to think about this, right? Hollywood, consumes that whole area. So when you really think about it, it's like a lot of these judges, a lot of these police officers, a lot of these, lawyers and just people that are within the system, so to say, a lot of them are people that are failed aspiring actors and actresses just by default. You understand what I'm saying? Like a lot of these people that pursued a law and career in law, they only went about it on that route after they realized it was quiet for their dreams. You feel me? So when you think about that and you put that in perspective, it's very, very evident that there's something going on out there that I can't even call what it is, because from my experience, I didn't see corruption from select individuals in different courts and within the system, but it's not fair to assume that everybody is corrupt just because that individual is corrupt, and that's my personal belief. But when it comes to LA County, whether it be Jackie Lacey as the prosecutor over there, or whether it be, Chief Michael Moore of the 77th Precinct, or you're talking about Steve Soberhoff, who's the LA Police Commissioner over there, you don't know what kind of influences they have in their lives. You don't know whether LA County is held to the same standard. Now, I know from my studies in law that every time we studied a specific case or an area of law, California would always have its own rule. You know what I'm saying? It would be if we're talking about common law, for instance, it would be a majority opinion and a minority opinion. So the majority is what most states go by. Minority is what, less than 25 of the states go by. But then there would be California that has its own laws. Now, at that time, I was thinking maybe it's just because California is a new state. You understand me? So they kind of go about it their own way. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's like the system is fixed over there. This shit is, you know what I'm saying? It's like it can't, like, to me, it seems like it's not reality. You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, here's some of the questions that, like, I don't got nothing written down right now. I usually have things written down. I'm on the road, so this is off the top of the head. So this is what I want to ask y'all, right? Number one, first of all, I think this is this is the elephant in the room. Everybody knows this. Why is it that Baylor Stars, or whatever the fuck her name is, the woman that was the accomplice to Eric Holder, why was she granted immunity so quickly if she was clearly, you understand what I'm saying, she was over there and it was established in her own testimony that her relationship with Eric stemmed back, for a while now, and that she had him over at her mother's crib, this, that, and third. You know what I'm saying? That's not just an innocent friendship. You know what I mean? They obviously knew each other to an extent, and to, offer her immunity that quickly for a testimony, that just doesn't make sense without charging someone to begin with, in my opinion, right? Number two, why is it that people that were on the scene over there, right, whether it be the kid Flashies, who said that he witnessed the whole thing, or you got, you got the Rimpaws, the Evan McKinseys, you got, you understand what I'm saying? There's a lot more people that were on that scene than was shown in that video. But specifically, even speaking to the video, why is that people like Copy 52, they're not being, subpoenaed? They're not state witnesses. Now, I don't know that with certainty, because when it comes to these court documents and the type of transcripts that they put out, yeah, I looked through everything, but I'm gonna keep it a stack with y'all. Like, I don't really give it much deference. I don't believe it, because at the end of the day, if the system is flawed over there, then it's safe to assume that whatever, justifications or reasons they give as to why they're doing things in their own way, it just, you could assume that there's some flaws to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just does not register. Now, with that being said, when we're talking about people that were not even in the video, a lot of people put themselves on the scenes over there. Now, we're talking about a case without any direct evidence, as far as I'm concerned. Like, there's no direct evidence whatsoever. There's nothing that, I don't know anything about ballistics or DNA evidence or anything like that the state has. But to me, it seems like they really have weak circumstantial evidence. And that's why I've been saying for some time that I really do believe Eric Holder is going to be acquitted and that's under the condition that, the system over there, or the trial that he has, is truly an impartial one, where you don't have a biased judge, you don't have a biased jury, they're both impartial, and, you know what I'm saying, they're not pulling some strings behind the scenes. But why is it that you got Joelle James on the scene over there, right? She's there at 1:34 or whatever time it was, and when her initial reports came out, that would have put her right at the scene at that time. You understand what I mean? That would have been right at the time that Nipsey got apparently shot, right? Why is it that these people that, whether through the pictures that they posted or other evidence, the Bob Francises out there, why is it that they are not being called as witnesses? Why is it that they haven't even been called as witnesses or nothing of that matter? Because as far as I'm concerned, if this is a circumstantial case and the state is relying on circumstantial evidence, they have to paint a picture for the jury in order for the jury to, you know what I'm saying, like, really map out the whole setting and understand what the scenario was, to paint that picture to them, as well as explaining what had happened. So, look, there's, specific YouTube channels that have called out, several individuals that may have been at the Marathon store after Nipsey was supposedly shot, or, too far before to be called as witnesses, questioning why they haven't been called as witnesses. And I'll explain to you, they're not called as witnesses because at the end of the day, their perception of whatever they saw, isn't gonna help the state with their case, and it might be irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? It might be prejudicial to the point where the judge says, look, this is a collateral matter. This is not even, like one of the more relevant, important issues of the case. So it's just a waste of time, so to say. So I can understand why certain people weren't called over there. But now when it comes to the people that were within that video that they put out, or more so the people that placed themselves on the scene, like the Joelle James, where we found out like a few weeks or months after Nipsey died that she was over there at that specific time. Why weren't they called as witnesses? It just does not make sense. It doesn't, from a legal perspective, it doesn't make sense. Now, even intuitively, for people that aren't attorneys or not in the law, in the practice of law, or have no experience with the system, even for them, I think just by gauging on a lot of your comments, on other pages and whatnot, your intuition is telling you that something is severely wrong about this whole situation. It doesn't make sense. So with that being said, look, I'm here to tell you that intuition that you have, trust that gut instinct. I'm telling you, you're not wrong. I'm here to give you that legal context and that perspective and kind of connect the dots and, make you affirm any sort of beliefs that you had and to diminish any sort of doubts that you had. But with that being said, I'm telling y'all, like, whatever you think right now, the shit that you see with your own two eyes and, what your gut is telling you, go by that, believe that, because like I'm saying, we could go for hours. I could really break it down to y'all and go through every piece of evidence or potential evidence that I feel like should have at least been called by the state or at least been examined into by the state, but it looks like there's no diligence on this. Look, bottom line is this is my bottom line, because I don't want to get too detracted and talk about the same thing and get redundant. But this is my thing, right? If you're going to have that sort of funeral ceremony for Nipsey, right, where, you have like a 25-mile plus procession where you're going through all of LA so that they could say their goodbyes, right, while you're driving the casket through the city on the way to, I believe it's called Woodlawn Cemetery, where Michael Jackson is also, buried at. Paul Walker is over there, which to me, that raises an eyebrow as to whether that's even a legitimate cemetery, but that's a whole different discussion. Now, my question is if you're going to have that sort of procession for an individual, like, look, I've been a Nip fan for years, long time. I've been knowing about Nip for a decade now. You understand me? So no one can tell me that I'm a fake fan. I'm a dick rider. I'm this, that, and the third, because I'm not. Because I've been known the demonstration he's been laying down. Did I know to the full extent? No, but I don't even think some of his biggest fans knew to the fullest extent. You understand me? But I've been known Nip. I respected him. Had love for him for the longest time. You feel me? So no one can tell me shit about that. But I'm raising this legitimate question. Why is it that, you got a funeral procession, you got the Staples Center, right? You have that whole thing at the Staples Center, and then you have a 25+ mile drive for Nipsey before you bury him at Woodlawn Cemetery, right? Now listen, if that's the case, right, then it would only be logical that the media would be covering this murder trial to that extent. We're talking about a public figure that had the sort of impact that he had. And look, this is an undisputed impact. This is not something that is up for debate. Nobody could tell me shit about this. You can't comment here. You can't say nothing bad about Nip's name when it comes to what his impact and what he actually did. But now when it comes to the commercial aspect of it and the way that they, push the funeral and this, that, and the third, why is it that they're not following through with this trial? Why is it that, you look on Google, you Google Eric Holder trial or Nipsey Hussle, Eric Holder, whatever, any sort of keywords. Why is it that there's no follow-up? There's nothing you can find on it whatsoever. It doesn't even talk nothing about the trial coming up or anything like that. Yo, that's like very bizarre, right? Because look, if MJ got shot in the parking lot that he owned and they had that sort of procession for him, you bet your ass that the media is going to be on that murder case 25-8. You feel me? Jay Stone voice, 25-8. Like, that's a fact. Now think about this, right? Think about this. Why is it that every time a rapper dies, right? These young rappers that are dying, dropping like flies these days, that's a whole different discussion too. But why is it that every time one of these youngin' rapper dies, all the fans are talking about, we need an album, we need music, etc., so forth. It's all music related when it comes to the rapper. And they be putting out music. You know what I'm saying? Pop Smoke had an album come out, a posthumous album. Juice WRLD had a posthumous album come out. XXXTentacion had a posthumous album coming out. But why is it that with Nipsey, it's like nobody's even talking about, like, yo, is the album coming out? Is the album dropping? They haven't dropped nothing. As far as I'm concerned, the first real, like, commercialized hip-hop song that's come out since Nipsey has passed away has been his feature on Big Sean's album, which just came out last month. But other than that, you don't hear nothing about it. You go on Twitter, you go on Google, like, people are talking about, yo, I wish I had more Nipsey music, but nobody's, labels aren't talking, Atlantic's not talking about, yo, we're dropping an album, a posthumous album. And here's the thing, Nipsey had a 4-album commitment with Atlantic Records per his partnership contract, quote unquote partnership contract. To me, personally speaking, as a side note, we could talk about this another time, but in my opinion, Nipsey was duped. He was deceived into this quote unquote partnership, which really in turn and ironically, right, for the independent artist that has been expressing the importance of independence to his fans like his whole career, it turns out that he was duped into inadvertent 360 deal because, like Choke No Jokes said, and shout out to Choke, Atlantic Records and Rock Nation is one and the same. So if you have a partnership with Atlantic Records and you are signed to management with Rock Nation, that is virtually a 360, and no one can tell me shit about that, because this is one thing I left out from the video that I put up yesterday, my intro video. But yo, I've been tied in through the industry for a long time. Not a long time, but I've been knowing people in the industry. I've been working in it for the past few years, not within it directly. You know what I'm saying? Because I can never rely on that industry to get mines, and I can never trust them to the extent like I can make a full career off that. But yo, I know a lot of people within the industry. I done been in a lot of these buildings, and I know how the shit goes. And I'm not calling everything a conspiracy, but I will say at the end of the day that there's a lot of vulnerable young black men that are being duped into situations that aren't really what it seems like. Now, Nipsey was an extraordinarily intelligent individual, so I cannot say that this is the case for him. I cannot say that with certainty. But what I will say is through the past year and a half plus, it seems more and more every day like it was an inadvertent 360 that he signed, especially when you look at that interview, you listen to what he said the 20 days before his death. You had the interviewer ask him, what would you advise these young artists? You have any sort of regrets or anything? And yo, Nipsey was like caught off guard by that question, but he was so candid with it to the extent that he didn't hide nothing. He was so straight up when he said, he more or less said, take your time with it. Take your time with it, because not everything seems like what it is. And to me, it seems like someone grabbed the ear of the interviewer before they had that interview, and they told him specifically to drop that question on Nipsey when he was caught off guard. And that answer that he elicited from Nipsey, you know what I'm saying? That could have pissed off a lot of people. You feel me? So I'm just going to leave that out there for now. But with all that being said, these are just some general questions that need to be raised. These are the questions that you need to think. When people try to tell you that you're crazy for thinking that and that the judicial system can't be corrupt to that extent, listen, take it from a lawyer, right? That never seen this type of shit happen in my life. I'm telling you, man, I've seen corruption at many different levels, many different, magnitudes, but nothing like this. Nothing like this for an individual's life who warranted a ceremony at the Staples Center, being the second individual to have his ceremony over there, and then to have a procession that goes 25 miles plus throughout the city of LA, being buried at Woodlawn Cemetery, and then it's quiet after that. There's no follow-up with his music. There's no follow-up with his case. Yo, listen, 90% of people, this is the 1090 rule, all right? Shout out to all my 1090s in New York. This is the 1090 rule, though, the way I see it. This is my own 1090 rule. 10% of people can fathom it. 10% of people have the intuition, they have the knowledge, they have the experience, or just the intelligence to be able to call it what it is and know that something ain't right. Now, 90% of the population, the vast majority, cannot even fathom the fact that, the thought of the world not being the way that they were brainwashed to believe that it is, or the way that they were taught it is. You understand what I'm saying? So when people tell you that you're crazy or that you can't be right, just know that you should find affirmation in that, and, that should make you double down on that belief. I'm telling you, man, because the vast majority, 9 out of 10 people, when they can't even fathom this shit, who the hell is someone to tell you that you wrong? You know what I mean? Especially people that ain't do their homework. They just going off of, whatever they feel. But in reality, their feelings or their beliefs are already skewed, or they're not credible or reliable because they are brainwashed, or they are just not smart enough. You understand what I'm saying? So with all that being said, that's like probably my favorite line. I keep saying that. All that being said, I just call myself. But with all that being said, think about these things, y'all. Like, for real, keep raising these questions and keep, you know what I'm saying? Like, in order to obtain justice for our brother, true justice, we got to hold these people accountable. Whether it be the people that was on the scene over there, the people that, through their interviews, they spilled a little too much information showing that they have prior knowledge about what was going to happen. You understand? Or the people in the judicial system, or the 77th precinct of Los Angeles over there. We got to hold every single fucking person accountable, because if we don't, then they're going to do with the shit that they want. You know what I'm saying? They're going to do it their way. They're going to do it their way. And it's proven for the past year and a half plus that their way is clearly a fucking hoax or a lie or deception or bullshit. You understand what I mean? It's no divine way of moving. They're not doing us any justice as fans, as not even just fans, as people that related to Nip. You know what I mean? People that related to Nip and his demonstration. People that are really living like that. People that are hopes of light in their hoods and their communities. You feel me? We're not going to get to the bottom of this until we keep raising these questions and we keep applying pressure. You feel me? When I say applying pressure, I don't mean any sort of violence or any sort of, illegal activity. I'm saying applying pressure as in just raising the questions. The public scrutiny has to be at an all-time high in a situation like this, because we ain't never seen no shit like this. Actually, you know what? I take that back. We seen shit like this before. We seen it with Malcolm. We seen it with Martin. We seen it before, but it's never been to the extent where we have the resources we have, where we could go on the internet, we could go on social media, and we could really decipher and we could decode the matrix. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to leave you all with that, all right? Think about these questions. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that like, subscribe, and let me know what's up, all right? Much love, y'all.